Matthew 25:14. The parable of the bags of gold. Again, it will be like a man going on a journey who called his servants and entrusted his wealth to them. To one he gave 5 bags of gold, to another 2 bags, and to another 1 bag, each according to his ability. Then he went on his journey. The man who had received 5 bags of gold went at once and put his money to work and gained 5 bags more. Also, the one with 2 bags of gold gained 2 more. But the man who had received 1 bag went off, dug a hole in the ground, and hid his master's money. After a long time, the master of those servants returned and settled accounts with them. The man who had received 5 bags of gold brought another 5. Master, he said, you entrusted me with 5 bags of gold. See, I have gained 5 more. His master replied, well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful with a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Come and share your master's happiness. The man with 2 bags of gold also came. Master, he said, you entrusted me with 2 bags of gold. See, I have gained 2 more. His master replied, well done, good and faithful servant. Come and share your master's happiness. Then the man who had received 1 bag of gold came. Master, he said, I knew that you are a hard man, harvesting where you have not sown, and gathering where you have not scattered seed. So I was afraid and went out and hid your gold in the ground. See, here is what belongs to you. His master replied, you wicked, lazy servant. So you knew that I harvest where I have not sown and gathered where I have not scattered seed. Well then, you should have put that money on a deposit with the bankers, so that when I returned, I would have received it back with interest. So take the bag of gold from him and give it to the one who has 10 bags. For whoever has will be given more, and they will have in abundance. Whoever does not have, even when they have, will be taken away from them. And throw that worthless servant outside into the darkness, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth.
Thanks for that, Justin. I hope now you're all thinking about your teeth. Hello, everyone. Welcome. And Dad, if you're watching in the UK, hello, mate. And a big welcome to 2026. It's a new year, a new page, a new start. Although, do we really need to have the 1st of January to make a new start? We can really do it at any time. But the first Sunday in a new year seems like a good a place as any. So let's step into this 2026 and the future with hope, courage, joy, and the belief that the best is yet to come. 2025 brought me, personally, promotion, a cyclone, losing friends to cancer, but gaining new ones, 3 months in a moon boot, and then a frozen shoulder to contend with. Don't get old, people, it sucks. Redundancy, a new job, amazing nights out. I turned 60. Oh, that's where you're all meant to go. You don't look it, Kevin. All right, but yeah, I know. I turned 60. I went through the scariest destructive storm I've ever been through. I laughed. I cried. Both of those quite a few times. And as Mark told me, I grew resilient as well. The world threw us curveballs. Sydney, Gaza, Ukraine, Trump, to name but a few. Now, I'm sure I've missed something. Oh yeah, Scout came into my life. All right, probably the biggest thing that happened last year. So, no matter what kind of year you've had, whether it was good, bad, hard, amazing, or a whole bunch of just normal, you are here. You did it. And it's easy to see what didn't work. It's easy to see what you want to change. But right now, instead of being hard on yourself, take a breath, and be proud of your story. Be proud of your showing up and trying. You made it. So can you give yourselves a clap, please? Tonight's reading, and yes, I know we've had a sermon on this very, very recently, but this is my perspective. The parable of the talents. I think it's one of those Bible stories that makes us stop and think about life and why we're given different things in life compared to others. So first of all, let's just go a little bit of history. What in biblical terms is a talent? Well, in the Old Testament, a talent was the weight of precious metals, usually gold or silver. The talent was the heaviest or largest biblical unit. It was scalp, thank you, equal to about 35 kilograms. In the New Testament, a talent was a coin or currency, and 1 talent was worth up to the equivalent of 20 years' salary. So according to the Australian Bureau of Statistics, in August 2024, the average hourly rate was $40 per hour. So if you're working full-time, a talent would be worth about $1,580,800. Thank you very much. But for today's sermon, I'm not going to talk about the monetary worth, but from 2 angles. One of the literal sense of the word talent, a special natural ability or aptitude, a capacity for achievement or success. And secondly, this is my perspective on it now, instead of saying talent, I'm replacing the word with joy. I must admit that once I started reading this parable with the meaning of talent as we know it and the word joy, it actually made a lot more sense to me. But I think that actually says more about me than anyone else. But here's a very quick summary of the passage read for those of you who are asleep or on your phones. 1 master, 3 servants. 1 got 5 talents, 1 got 2 talents, and be careful what finger you put up here, Kevin, and the third got 1 talent. Each were given talents according to their ability. Upon his return, the master asked what they did with their talents. The first and second workers doubled their talents and received the master's praise. The third servant, who was given 1 talent, safeguarded it, but didn't do anything to increase it. And as a result, he was condemned by the master for his inactivity. And have you ever really noticed that when you're happy, it normally grows? When you use your talent, you improve on it, and it grows. Was it fair that 1 servant got 5 talents, 1 got 2, and 1 got 1? No, it wasn't, let's be real. But each person got something, and they all got something according to what they were able to do with it. God knows us better than we know ourselves. A lot of us want 5 talents or 5 lots of joy, when really we can't even do something with the 1 talent we have. The point is not how many talents we have or want. The point is that we all have talents. We all have the capacity for joy, and that God gives us a chance to use them according to our own ability. So let me just repeat that bit again, according to our own ability. God knows what we can do with what we have, and he's not going to give us too much or even too little. He will give us just enough, or give us the exact gifts and talents that we need to get what we need to get done in our life. So don't be envious of the talents that others have. Just focus on your own and work with multiplying what you have. The same goes for joy. Don't be envious that others appear to have more joy than you. Look at increasing the joy in your life and be thankful for what you have in your life. And for goodness sake, folks, stop moaning that you don't have what someone else has. The parable of the talent can teach us 5 important things about the biblical meaning of success and therefore life. So what are those 5 points? Going the wrong way. 1, we're not all created with equal skills, abilities and opportunities. Point 2, success only occurs when we take action. Point 3, when we do work, our efforts are to be aimed toward God and not our own self-pleasure or agenda. Point 4, God always gives us everything we need to do what he has called us to do. 5, we will be held accountable. So we're going to quickly delve into each of those 5 points in more depth. To be honest, I could probably do a sermon on each point over 5 weeks. So buckle up. Here's 5 weeks of sermons in one. You've been warned. Point 1, okay, we're not all created with equal skills, abilities and opportunities. Thankfully, we are all very different in many different ways, and that beautiful diversity is part of our crazy world. And we should treat the one talent person the same as the 5 talent person, with respect and dignity. Remember, the talents are given according to each person's ability. We are created with different skills and abilities and are never entrusted with more than God knows we can handle. The things we have in life are blessings from God. He hasn't given us all the same things. We each have differences in financial status, health, intellect, skills, and talents, etc. No matter how much or how little, they are all gifts from God. What will we do with the blessings, talents, or joy that's been given to us? God gives us free will to choose. He loves us so much that he allows us to freely decide our path in life. He desires that we grow our gifts for his glory. But at the end of the day, it's up to each of us to decide how to use or don't use them. Will we help the needy, clothe the naked, feed the hungry, show mercy, grant forgiveness, love one another, say hello to the new person who walks through the door, have joy in our life? Or will we squander our talents and blessings, hide or misuse our talents, use our skills for evil instead of good? Insert evil laugh here, ha 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 ha. Okay, but for example, when we're not all created athletically inclined, and as such, we cannot all be in professional sports. Not a bad thing, just a reality. Yet no matter how gifted an individual is in a particular area, rarely, if ever, will one individual be exceptional in every area of life. No matter how good that cricket player is, he probably still needs someone to fix his car. And his joy in life won't be the same as yours. So why do we compare ourselves to others all the time? Point two. Success only occurs when we take action. I hate the term overnight success. I don't think there is such a thing. Each person behind that overnight success has worked hard, toiled, made mistakes, looked like a complete idiot at times, but they kept moving forward when all around them told them to stop. The author Stephen King's first novel, Carrie, probably not one of the best things to mention in a church, actually, Kevin, but hey-ho, was not thought that one through, was rejected 30 times before it was published. He was so disillusioned, he actually threw the manuscript away, but his wife pulled it out of the rubbish. It's now sold over 4 million copies, had films and TV adaptations made. The comedy actress Melissa McCarthy was working 2 jobs and had decided to give up auditioning for roles at 30 years old. At 29 and something like 49 weeks, she gained a role on the Gilmore Girls that changed her life forever. Shane did not become a glittery vet overnight. It took years of study and a fortune on Temu. He's nodding. I did not develop this sexy dad bod overnight. Again, it took years of dedication. Likewise, a farmer must work the land to get crops, but he can't guarantee the outcome of that planting. But without working the land, he will not reap a harvest. We have to work with the talents God's given us, sexy dad bod, and keep working at them. The singers practice. The piano player practices. The cake bakers, thank God for them, fine-tune their craft. Any gift that's left unopened or is disregarded is useless and doesn't actually bring joy to anyone. The person receiving only 1 talent, out of fear, kept that talent buried, thus guaranteeing it wouldn't be lost. Or put another way, they wouldn't fail. They didn't want to build their joy. Are you frightened that if you are joyful, it will upset the balance of things? Not exactly what God has in mind for us when I believe he really, really wants us to be joyful. It's our job to be faithful with all of God that God has given us, which means we need to leverage our opportunities. We are to work using our talents to glorify God, to serve the common good and to further the kingdom and to be joyful. All right, point 3. We're getting through them, guys. It was not uncommon in those days for masters to entrust possessions to their servants in their absence. If we're followers of Christ, we are his servants. We choose to die to self and follow him. The Bible teaches us that everything we have, whether acquired or given at birth, is God's. And the best way to begin using your talents is to glorify God. I will start that sentence again. The best way to begin using your talents to glorify God is to identify which talents you enjoy using and which ones you'd like to invest time in and which ones bring you joy. Consider things that are easy for you, whether it's an art form or a social skill, and to do it with joy. You may be able to identify a variety of skills that come naturally to you. There may be one that you're looking at trying to hone in on. Remember, not everyone can sing well. Not everyone can be in a choir or be technical enough to work the desk or PowerPoint. Not everyone can be in charge. Paul says in 1 Corinthians that we're not on our own and we've been bought with the price of his life. So Christ has a claim to everything which belongs to us, everything which may be turned to good. We are told to glorify God as we use our bodies in our work. Our end is not self-satisfaction, but God's satisfaction. However, that doesn't mean that winning is wrong. If God gave you the ability to win when competing with others, give God the credit. Eric Liddell, for example, portrayed this in the classic movie Chariots of Fire. He said that when I run, I feel God's pleasure. And he also said to give that up would be to hold God in contempt. To win is to honour him. So don't be frightened of being joyful. Don't be frightened of being successful. Winning is relative to what others have. Your success is relative to what you have. A win can be as simple as grasping a concept or a theory that you've been struggling to understand at uni or TAFE. For the bakers, it can be a recipe working out. A success can be walking around the park with your dog for the first time after being ill. But how often with those kinds of wins do we thank God for them? We're not all winners. We may not be winners in certain areas, but we can all succeed and be thankful for what we have achieved. And we can be joyful about what we have. And our winning at something may be someone else's dream. Winning also depends on who else is playing the game, and winning can be how you define it. But we can all be successful when we do the absolute best we can with what we've been given. All right, point 4. I can do all things through Christ who has strengthened me. We're told in Philippians 4:13. The master in the parable expected his servants to do more than passively preserve what had been entrusted to them. God expects us to generate a return by using our skills and abilities towards a productive end or a productive life. The servant who received 5 talents had everything necessary to produce 5 more. The servant who received 2, likewise, to produce 2 more. And likewise, the servant who received 1 talent had everything necessary to produce 1 more. But out of fear, they chose to do nothing. Fear trumps faith if we let it. When we attempt to follow what God has trusted us to do, it's not always easy. That's why it's so important to stay faithful and let God take care of the success. Fear makes us cowards of us if we listen to its message more than God's worth. And fear robs us of joy in our life. In Ephesians 2:10, Paul says that we are his workmanship created in Christ Jesus for good works, which God has prepared beforehand that we should walk in them. God does not need us, but he's chosen us to use us in this thing we called life. All right, finally, point 5. We will be held accountable. So what are you actually doing with the talents and joy you received from God? Are you hiding them? We must give an account for everything that we do, whether we choose to follow Christ or not. The same goes for the gifts that God has given us. The servant in the parable didn't waste the master's money. They wasted an opportunity. In the parable, the master was not pleased with the 1-talent servant, called him wicked and slothful, and eventually took the talent away from him altogether. In other words, a talent unused will be a talent lost. 1 Corinthians 12 says, "For the body is not one member, but many." And in this chapter, Paul compares the gifts of the members of the church to a body, the body of Christ. A physical body, as we all know, is made up of many different parts, which should work in harmony. Each part of the body has a very specific role and function, and God's given each of us a role and a function in the church. And we must work together and use those talents for God's glory and uplift one another. And as I think it's Ryan said in the notices, we are a church of volunteers. So we rely on various parts of that body to do various parts of the running of the church. God has given each of us a special gift, no matter how big or small you consider that gift to be. God expects us to use it. He wants us to use our talents for his glory, and we will see God's mighty hand actively at work in our lives. So please, don't waste your talents. And I'm sure we have all felt that wasted opportunity from time to time. We are responsible for what we've been given, and one day we're going to be held responsible. So think about what you are good at right now, today, not tomorrow, or more importantly for those of us a certain age, what we were good at yesterday. We have been given talents for now, not for when we are thinner, fitter, more mature, or whatever other excuse we tell ourselves. The fact is that many of us are full of a lot of excuses for what God has not given us and why. We just sit in one spot and remain stuck, not really doing good, not really doing bad, but just sitting there. For all of us, that's a huge waste of your God-given talent. And it's a robbing us of, amongst other things, you've guessed it, joy. We might only have been given one talent, but we need to use it. The American pastor Tim Butler says, "Success is when you lay your head on the pillow at night, knowing you were faithful to do what you were called to do." And certainly the proper balance is to ensure that we do our best to glorify God and not just make ourselves look good. I have no idea what 2026 holds for me. And even though I've been talking about joy tonight, it is okay not to feel very twinkly all of the time. So don't put pressure on yourself. Just embrace each bright and glittering moment if and when it comes. But what I do know about 2026 is that I plan to think deeply, speak gently, love much, laugh a lot, work hard, think freely and be kind. And in all things, I plan to be as joyful as I bloody well can be. So what's the moral of the parable of the talents according to little old Kevin? No matter how small or how large your talent is, use it joyfully for God's glory. Amen.